The teenager sat perfectly still in the courtroom, her face calm, almost peaceful. And if you didn't know better, you'd think she was waiting for a college acceptance letter instead of a murder verdict. Mackenzie Shirilla, just 17 years old, had spent months perfecting this performance, this mask of innocence, this image of a broken girl who simply couldn't remember the worst night of her life. And her lawyers had done their job well, painting vivid pictures of trauma-induced amnesia, of a young woman whose brain had mercifully blocked out the horror, of an accident that no one could have prevented. The jury listened, the families watched, and for a moment, it seemed like her story might actually work. Like sympathy might override evidence, like tears might blur the truth. But then something happened that changed everything. The prosecutor stood up, walked to the screen at the front of the courtroom, and pressed a single button. And in that instant, Mackenzie's carefully constructed world began to crumble. Because what appeared on that screen wasn't a tragic accident. It was an execution captured in high definition, and no amount of fake tears or convenient memory loss could erase what everyone was about to witness. This is the story of how a suburban teenager turned her car into a weapon, how she methodically planned the murders of two young men, and how technology became the unshakable witness that exposed every single lie. And every detail you're about to hear has been verified through official court documents, police reports, medical records, and sworn testimony. So prepare yourself, because this case will fundamentally change how you think about teenage relationships, premeditated violence, and the digital footprints we leave behind. July 31st, 2022 started like any other summer morning in Strongsville, Ohio, a quiet suburb where neighbors knew each other's names and teenagers spent their days at the local mall or grabbing coffee at chain restaurants. But by the time the sun set that evening, two families would be destroyed, a community would be shattered, and investigators would begin piecing together evidence of what would be called one of the most cold-blooded crimes committed by someone so young. Mackenzie Shirilla wasn't supposed to be a killer, at least not according to anyone who knew her casually. She came from a comfortable family, attended local schools, and from the outside, seemed like just another teenager navigating the complicated waters of young love and social media. But beneath that surface, something darker was growing, something that would reveal itself in the most horrific way possible. Her relationship with 20-year-old Dominic Russo had become toxic, volatile, the kind of relationship where love and control become dangerously intertwined. And according to friends and family members who later testified, Mackenzie didn't handle conflict the way most people do. She didn't walk away, she didn't seek help. Instead, she made threats, specific, chilling threats that everyone assumed were just dramatic teenage outbursts, until they suddenly weren't. If cases like this fascinate you, subscribe now, because I publish new cases every week. And trust me, what's coming next in this story will leave you absolutely speechless. 2 weeks before the crash, Mackenzie was driving with Dominic when an argument erupted. Voices raised, emotions running high, and in that moment of anger, Mackenzie said something that would later become crucial evidence. She threatened to crash the car right then and there. Those exact words witnessed, remembered, documented. And while Dominic and others might have dismissed it as empty words spoken in frustration, investigators would later realize it was actually a preview, a warning of exactly what she was planning. But here's what makes this case even more disturbing. Mackenzie didn't just threaten once and move on. She actually practiced. And this is where the premeditation becomes undeniable. Because in the days leading up to July 31st, surveillance cameras captured Mackenzie driving the same route multiple times, the same street, the same speed, the same destination. Like an athlete rehearsing for competition or an actor running through scenes before opening night, she was preparing, calculating, making sure that when the moment came, she would execute it perfectly. The route she chose wasn't random. It was a dead-end street with a brick building at the terminus, the perfect setup for what she had planned. And each time she drove that route in the days before, she was learning the timing, the distance, the exact moment when she would need to accelerate. And this wasn't discovered until after the crash, when investigators pulled surveillance footage from businesses along that street and realized they were watching a murder being rehearsed in real time. On the morning of July 31st, Mackenzie picked up Dominic Russo and his friend, 19-year-old Davion Flanagan, and the three of them drove around Strongsville. And to anyone watching, it probably looked like just another group of young people enjoying summer freedom. Music playing, windows down, the kind of scene that plays out in suburbs across America every single day. But what Dominic and Davion didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that Mackenzie had already made her decision. The route was planned, the practice runs were complete, and now it was time for the final performance. The surveillance footage that would later be played in court shows Mackenzie's Toyota Camry approaching the dead-end street. And here's where the evidence becomes absolutely irrefutable. The car's black box, that small computer that records everything about a vehicle's operation, told a story that completely destroyed any possibility of this being an accident. And what it revealed was chilling in its clarity. As Mackenzie's car approached the brick building at the end of the street, she didn't brake, she didn't swerve, she didn't show any sign of trying to avoid the collision. Instead, the black box data showed she actually accelerated, her foot pressing down on the gas pedal, the speedometer climbing 60, 70, 80 miles per hour on a residential street, the engine responding exactly as she commanded, and then impact. 3,500 pounds of metal and glass and human bodies colliding with an immovable brick wall at a speed that left no chance of survival for her passengers. The crash was so violent that it took emergency responders nearly an hour to extract the bodies from the wreckage. Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan were pronounced dead at the scene, their bodies so severely damaged that the medical examiner would later testify about injuries consistent with high-speed collisions. And somehow, impossibly, Mackenzie survived. Injured but alive, conscious enough to be transported to the hospital, conscious enough to speak. And that's where her first mistake happened, the mistake that would eventually unravel every lie she would tell in the months to come. Hospital rooms are strange places where privacy and crisis collide, where medical professionals document everything. Because in medicine, every word matters. Every symptom counts. Every statement a patient makes becomes part of their permanent record.
Patient stated she, open quote, wanted to die, close quote, and that it was her fault for killing her boyfriend.
And Mackenzie Shirilla, lying in that hospital bed with injuries from the crash, didn't realize that the doctors and nurses treating her weren't just there to heal her body. They were also creating a document that would later be read aloud in a courtroom. Every word she spoke preserved forever. Dr. Esther Chang, the trauma surgeon who treated Mackenzie in those crucial hours after the crash, would later take the witness stand.
You just said and read that Mackenzie said it was her fault, correct?
I did read those words.
That's what it says. It didn't say that she purposely killed someone, did it?
Those words do not appear in that note.
And whatever those words were, you weren't there to hear them.
That is correct.
And when the prosecutor asked her to read from Mackenzie's medical file, the courtroom fell absolutely silent, because what came next wasn't some vague statement or ambiguous comment. It was a confession. The medical records, documented in the clinical, precise language that doctors use, stated that the patient became tearful, that she was processing heavy loss and depression, that she shared feelings of grief, guilt, and shame. And then came the words that would seal Mackenzie's fate. She told hospital staff that she wanted to die and that it was her fault for killing her boyfriend. Let that statement settle in your mind for a moment, because this wasn't something said weeks later after consulting with lawyers. This wasn't a statement made under police interrogation. This was Mackenzie. Hours after the crash, telling medical professionals in what she believed was a private medical setting that she had killed her boyfriend, that it was her fault. No mention of memory loss, no claims of accident, just raw admission of guilt. The defense attorneys tried desperately to downplay this statement during cross-examination, suggesting maybe the doctor misunderstood, maybe Mackenzie was confused from pain medication, maybe the trauma was making her say things she didn't mean. But Dr. Cheng remained firm. The statement was clear, it was documented properly, and it directly contradicted everything Mackenzie would claim later about not remembering what happened. And this is where you see the power of documentation, because while Mackenzie would have months to craft a news story, to build a defense strategy, to create the narrative of traumatic amnesia, that hospital record remained unchanged, a snapshot of truth captured before she realized how much legal trouble she was facing. But the prosecution wasn't finished. They had been building something even more damaging, a digital profile of who Mackenzie really was beneath the Innocent Teenager Act.
Shortly after the crash, Strongsville police were notified that they had received concerning emails from the community that the defendant and her mother were seeking employment with the Los Angeles modeling agency. Mackenzie Shirilla said to Vitaly, "Thank you for the comment. I would love to work with you guys. I've been emailing you guys a lot. Such a great opportunity. Thank you."
And they found it on her TikTok account because, like so many young people today, Mackenzie had documented her thoughts, her moods, her entire personality online, never considering that these posts would one day be evidence in a murder trial. The TikTok videos played in that courtroom painted a disturbing portrait. And I want you to understand, these weren't old posts from years earlier when she was a different person. These were recent, posted around the same time her relationship with Dominic was deteriorating.
Dom, if you do not open, you think I'm joking. You think I'm joking. Like, I'm dead ass.
What do you mean?
You know that's exactly what I mean. You don't even know exactly what I mean. You're gonna come open this door right now, or there's gonna be a serious...
Around the same time she was making threats about crashing the car. And the content was dark, unsettling, almost prophetic in its horror. One video that prosecutors displayed prominently, it featured the caption, "I'm the one you died for."
Gotta figure like a pin, I gotta figure like a doll. Don't care if you think I'm dumb, I don't care at all. Can't best sweetie if I wanna be adored. I'm the girl you die for.
And think about the implications of that statement. Think about someone posting that and then weeks later deliberately causing a crash that kills 2 people. The prosecutors argued this wasn't coincidence. This was insight into Mackenzie's mindset. Evidence that she had been thinking about death, about control, about being the central figure in someone's final moments. Another post, equally disturbing, read, "I'm not even cool. I'm just one of those girls who can do a lot of drugs and not die."
I'm not even cool. I'm just one of those girls that can do a lot of and not die.
A statement that prosecution experts said demonstrated Mackenzie's comfort with themes of mortality, her casual relationship with danger, her belief that somehow death and destruction orbited around her but never quite touched her. And looking at these posts, the families of Dominic and Davion must have felt a horror beyond description, realizing that this girl they had welcomed into their homes, this teenager they had trusted with their sons, had been broadcasting warning signs all along. The trial stretched over days with expert witnesses, accident reconstruction specialists, forensic analysts, all building an overwhelming case that this was no accident, that every piece of evidence pointed toward premeditation, toward murder. And when it came time for sentencing on August 21st, 2023, Mackenzie was given one final opportunity to speak. And true to form, she delivered what observers would call her final performance. She specifically asked the judge if she could stand to deliver her statement, wanting that dramatic moment, that spotlight.
The families of Dom and Davion, I'm so deeply
sorry. I hope one day you can see I would never let this happen or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken. I love Dom and Davion. We were all friends and Dom was my soulmate. I wish I could take all your pain away. And I'm so sorry. And to my family, thank you for the support and all the love you guys give. Thank you for fighting with me. I love you all so much. Alright, I'm done. Thank you. Thank you.
And in her carefully prepared words, she apologized, she cried, she thanked her family, but notice what she didn't do. She still claimed she couldn't remember. She still maintained it wasn't intentional. She told the court, "I hope one day you can see I would never let this happen or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened." And the contrast between this statement and what she told hospital staff hours after the crash, admitting it was her fault for killing her boyfriend, revealed everything you need to know about Mackenzie Shirilla. Body language experts who analyzed the footage noted something particularly revealing. About a minute into sentencing, as the judge described the horrific nature of her crimes, Mackenzie defiantly shook her head back and forth. Not in sorrow, not in remorse, but in denial, still refusing to accept full responsibility even as the evidence surrounded her like walls of steel. Then, Mackenzie's mother, Natalie Shirilla, addressed the court.
My name is Natalie Shirilla. I just want to say, am I allowed to address them at all? Sure. I just want to say to the families that I'm broken, sad, and lost, and my heart hurts for everyone, okay? Davion was her new friend, and Dom was the love of her life, and he was part of our family, okay? I'm just so sorry that this happened, and we're heartbroken, okay? And then, Your Honor, this was a terrible, tragic nightmare accident to have happened that she has no memory of, and she will never emotionally or physically recover from it. She almost died too.
And her statement provided crucial insight into how Mackenzie may have learned to avoid accountability. Because even after hearing days of testimony about the practice runs, the threats, the black box data showing deliberate acceleration to fatal speeds, Mackenzie's mother still called it an accident, still framed her daughter as a victim. And legal observers noted this was illuminating because it showed the family dynamics that may have created someone who believed they could murder two people and somehow still claim innocence.
Having had count 2 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of murder, to wit Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code section 2903.02a, is charged in count 2 of the indictment. Count 3, murder. The court, having had count 3 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of murder, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code section 2903.02b, as charged in count.
The judge didn't buy it, nobody in that courtroom bought it, and Mackenzie Shirilla received a sentence of 15 to life, meaning she won't be eligible for parole until she's in her 30s. And two families will never get their sons back. Two young men died because someone decided her anger, her need for control, was more important than their lives. And the scariest part is how close she came to getting away with it. How if not for that black box, those surveillance cameras, those medical records, she might have succeeded in painting herself as just another tragic victim of a terrible accident. Subscribe now and let me know what aspect of this case disturbed you most. The calculated practice runs that showed deliberate planning, the hospital confession she tried to erase with convenient amnesia, or the chilling TikTok posts that revealed who she really was all along. Because understanding cases like this isn't just about true crime entertainment. It's about recognizing warning signs, understanding how technology exposes truth, and remembering that evil doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes, it looks like a 17-year-old girl with a driver's license and a dark obsession with control.